Hello there everyone and welcome back. I like to think everything's been going well with my current Imperial Navy fleet that I've been fielding. Hell, it's been so effective. I like to say the Dauntless in some situations have been kind of MVP to some limited extent, mind you. Nothing so ridiculous as being able to solo like Void Stalkers as I kind of hinted at last video, but it's been doing very well. I talked about its hidden potential, and when I use my main flagships, like against Orcs is a perfect example because it actually happened in one of these situations, I lob my melta torpedoes at them, force their fighters, their heavy carrier type fleet, to launch and deal with those torpedoes, and when they start flying their way over towards my fleet or get distracted, the Dauntless just sneaks on in and fires 4 melta torpedoes right up their ass. It works amazingly well if I catch them while their emergency repairs is on cooldown. Or even better, it forces a repair in preparation for an even bigger melta torpedo wave, or just a lot of damage in general. It has a lot of hidden value. I want to experiment with it more, but alas, I kind of hinted at diversifying a little bit, and I think it's time to do that. As much as I like to show off the Apocalypse, I haven't really been practicing with this. I'm gonna be honest. But one thing I have been practicing with the Adeptus Mechanicus is Nova Cannon type fleet. And this is kind of what I have in mind. Sure, it may not be the simplistic 6 Dominators, which you can actually get 6 Dominators. No, this is a lot more balanced, at least a lot more well-rounded, I want to argue. I'm sure I'm missing out on one Novacan, and arguably these 2 Marses are still count as Dominators almost when you consider the lances that they also bring to the battlefield. They're just not going to benefit from the armor-piercing rounds, in which case their damage will be a little bit less, but there's still added bonus, especially for longer range type of fights, and hell, they might be useful for bringing down shields if a disruption bomb's not warranted. It's going to be tricky nonetheless, since I talked about before, there's a lack of synergy with the I don't know why I couldn't say Dominators for so long, but there is a lack of synergy there because I need my macro cannons, which are short range, mind you, to actually take down the shields if I want these Nova cannons to do their full potential on unsuspecting victim, I suppose is the term. But like I said, it's a little well-rounded. I have three frigates. Good God, now I'm getting all mixed up. But nonetheless, I have 3 frigates to kind of get the scanner coverage, the sensors, scanner pulse coverage. So if I can avoid having these get shot down, that's permanent visibility on anything that's relying on assault running. Ideally. The trick, of course, is keeping them all alive and keeping them all in close enough formation where I can do that strategy. But I like to think this has promise. But like I hinted at with the Lance variant, I haven't really practiced with it, but I have been playing with Adeptus Mechanicus to get a feel for it. And ultimately, if I don't do the damage early on, at least crippling damage that I can take advantage of rather, it's going to be really tricky to use them once we finally do get into close range combat. So there is going to be a little bit of trial and error still, but if I can make it work, that's going to make it all the better. And I may still throw in one more match with my regular fleet as well, because like I said, I've been enjoying it and it's been well rounded. It's just tricky to utilize just due to the sheer amount of different pieces that are required in this fleet. We have the Retribution that's kind of immobile. We have the Exorcist, which is kind of unique in how it can do its damage, with the bombers mainly, as well as dealing with torpedoes, and of course the frigates. You really need to micromanage them if you want them to contribute to damage. And I already talked about the Dauntless. Hopefully I can demonstrate that if I jump over to that fleet. Alright, Chaos. And it looks like Khorne is that there. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic where I think my opponent might be trying to get aggressive, since at least the Khorne unique skill and abilities kind of encourage his boarding and close range potential. And there's armor piercing ammo available to him as well, as we kind of already know, so I'm sort of expecting possibly slaughters, but maybe it could be a flavor thing. That's always a possibility too, but the fact that there are unique factions or sub-factions that give unique upgrades and effects, I really should play with that in mind, to be honest. Just to be prepared for anything. And I've been thinking on how I should lay out my fleet here. It's kind of odd since my Marses are kind of situated in the front, which honestly may not be a terrible idea since I kind of want them to start firing those lances as soon as possible. I just gotta be good about my formation so that, this is really interesting. If I want to secure 3 points, I kind of have to go on my opponent's side of the map, as interesting as it may seem. Which will be tricky to do perhaps, since I'm going to have to fight through them, and that's assuming they are close range potential. I'll be fighting on their terms to a limited extent. So I need to be careful with this. And what I plan on doing is once I get within lance range, maybe I just have the Mars's burn retros and let the Dominators pass on through. Actually, you're Group 1. I think the support utility ships are going to be Group 4, kind of like my Exorcists. Like I said, I've been thinking about how I should group them, and I think that works decently well. At least it makes it a lot more easier to transition between the two. And I do have my skills, right? Yes, I do. I was a bit worried that would not work since I did have a Chaos match before, but for some reason it just dropped out on me. I don't know what happened there midway through the fight, and these were against like all Grand Cruisers, mind you. The ones I talked about before when I did my Chaos video, which are the repulsives, I think, with the torpedoes. So that would have been interesting. It was looking promising. Just had a really odd ending because it just immediately cut out and dropped me to the main menu screen. I have no idea if that was a bug or some kind of weird exploit. Kind of similar how I remember it briefly with Armada 1. Nonetheless, 10 seconds ago, I think my plan is to try and secure these 3 points, and of course, since these are near my end of the map, I might as well grab them. Because why the hell not? Oh, it helps if I do this properly, though.
Changing course.
And we got what looks like 8 ships all revealed, so I'm interested why my opponents decide not to. Oh, I changed. I have the wrong skills. Okay, I don't have the auger probe, which is kind of okay considering I have 2 sets of squadrons to help serve with that. So maybe I don't even need them. The reason I don't target these ships specifically is because I kind of want the fighters to kind of fly by them and maybe survive the point defense onslaught they will take briefly, as opposed to tell them to lock onto the ship and eventually get shot down. At least sending the fighters somewhere behind them at least increases the chance, or makes it likely at least, that they will return safely at some point, depending where the enemy fleet goes. And if I get vision, that at least gives me some intel to work with here.
The enemy has seized a strategic
Now,
area.
Falchions, I'm going to need you for spy at some point there. You don't have the short burn torpedoes, so that's the one thing I'm probably going to have to get used to, is the fact that I don't have that to help me out here.
The enemy has seized a strategic
At least, and if they're light cruisers or regular cruisers, then I'm going to have a really hard time handling with Nova cannons anyway. So I'm going to have to be smart with how to do this. Oh, slaughter fleet. Corn slaughter. It got the corn upgrade at least, so it wouldn't surprise me if they have the corn upgrade. Oh, and I forgot my lock on. That may have been a mistake. I can at least slow him down some.
Your orders?
Now,
Engaging
let's get the
engines.
Falchions in every. No, I thought I did. I set the hotkeys or the control group so that way it'd be easier to control, and apparently that's not true when I'm telling my Mars is to
Ship ready.
fool around a bit.
All guns fire at will.
Now, the only reason I don't want to target the flagship is because of the likeliness that it has micro-warp jump. That could be an easy trap if I'm not careful, because as you can see, these are all slaughters. A lot of slaughters, they're not quite. Interestingly enough, they're not solid running, which is the interesting thing to note here.
Ship ready.
But I could fire torpedoes there. I don't think they're going to do damage necessary, but they're slow enough they might be able to do something. I gotta be smart with the Nova cannons how I use these.
Understood.
And these don't have extended range on me. Ooh, they actually do have extended range, surprisingly.
Understood.
So maybe these could be useful.
Target locked in.
To a limited extent. They're easily getting shot down, mind you, but
Aye, Admiral.
if the slaughters are just gonna run,
Burn retros. Your orders?
and so far it's only 2 points and 2 points, so I'm not too worried with playing this slow. The trick is knowing when to Nova Cannon. Like, these are like the fastest cruisers in the game, so realistically I should never expect them to hit. Even with how tempting this is. If it does hull damage, that's great, but... Really? Well, I think we could tell the at least awareness of our opponent here. This is going to be a little anticlimactic. They're getting the hint quickly, though.
We serve. Heading acknowledged.
I'm going to lose my frigate, unfortunately, there. But it could boost out. They have broadside weaponry after all. It got rams, so never mind. And you are holding fire, so that's not a problem at all just yet.
Ship ready.
Let me at least get my formation figured out.
We wait your command.
And maybe kill off a frigate as a bonus. I could.
We serve.
So long as I'm in front of them, they can't do damage to me. But this is a weird setup for them to just...
Ship ready.
Huh, long range, enhanced range on that thing too.
Aye, Admiral.
That is very interesting indeed.
Ship ready.
Although it's only a single ship as well, so I'm not too worried. I just gotta get out of vision of these.
Coordinates acknowledged.
And then like I said, I could almost abandon these points. I don't. Those 2 points I don't care about. It's these 3 I do care about, though. And sadly, I didn't do a lot of hull damage since that's the main value of the shields. It is permanent damage. Let's keep that in mind, though. And I have amazing close range potential, so long as set my priorities proper, I should be okay. And I could just backdoor, worst case, with these frigates. So let's just grab these points and... Interestingly enough, what the hell happened to you? I would love to know. Actually, let's start dealing with your point defense. That might be a good strategy. At least prime for my bombers to maybe chip it down. It may be a little preemptive to just send bombers after it. Again, it has the speed that it can just avoid my bombers easily enough if it so wished. So the point defense are kind of warranted too. Huh. I was trying to find my frigates.
Changing course.
That's fine.
The enemy has seized
In fact, I should just
strategic area.
boost. Since I was already identified, so why the hell not? It makes things go faster for me. Especially with 5 ships and so. I'll cap this really
We wait
quickly.
your command.
Definitely an odd match, but due to the layout, I want to argue this is a better position for me.
Your orders.
It's just a question,
Setting course.
what do I want to do about this? When do I use the Nova cannons?
Your orders?
Again, this is the worst possible fleet to kind of go up against with said Nova cannons. Unless your combustion gauge is completely burned out, which is always possible.
The enemy has accumulated 25% of
No, that
strategic
point's
points.
capped. This one's going to be capped. It's still a dangerous fleet. I just have the better close range potential with the... Since, yeah, as I noted earlier, they have armor-piercing ammo, which they're not utilizing. It's just the critical hit chance could really mess me up if I underestimate that.
Engaging engines.
Since we're looking at potentially 30% crit chance, maybe more. It only says 10% there, so I'm willing to bet it's
You
like
have seized a
30%.
strategic area. The enemy has seized a
Now let's get
strategic
formation all
area.
set up. I don't mind playing a slower game since I'm
We
kind of
serve.
more interested in harassing at
Burn
range.
retros. Underway.
And
You have
thankfully, this is where hold fire is
25%
amazingly
of
valuable.
strategic points.
I imagine trying to find these 2 needles in a haystack, huh? And as
Heading
soon as he
acknowledged.
flies away, guess what I'm going to do with them? Sadly, they're not going to be helpful for spotting because of this gas cloud, but at the same time, I don't need to worry too much about that yet.
Course engaged.
Not too much anyway. I just gotta grab this 3rd point, maybe do some damage. I didn't even do anywhere near the point defense damage I would like. Unless he repaired, that might be the exception.
Ship ready.
Oh well,
Coordinates
we'll
acknowledged.
steal a point behind them at our earliest convenience. Again, I would love the Nova Cannon as well. I did do some damage, so it's not like
We
I'm
wait
getting
your
no value
command.
out of it. It's a question of how to
Changing
get
course.
the hull damage that I want, ideally with the Nova
Enemy
cannons.
sighted.
Because this looks prime. Just look how potential this is because of the AI bugging out.
Heading acknowledged.
And I don't think they're going to turn very well. You're going to collide into the rocks.
You have seized
Ah,
a
dang it, really?
strategic area.
The only reason I fired so many was because I thought he couldn't get past this. That's the 3D effects for you, is it? Because I was almost positive that
Your orders?
couldn't move that way.
Course engaged.
Alright. I'll play your
Ship
game.
ready. Engaging target.
And we'll make sure we focus properly, too. Maybe destroy engines, at least on this one here. Since that's only 1 ship shooting at me for crying out loud, should I be worried? Probably not.
Shark assault
I am
boats
actually going to
on their
launch
way.
assault boats, though, try and get a little more value out of these Marses. And what I'm going to do is this will hold them still, which is something that should not be underestimated, unless he flies right into it maybe. Gives me a little more time to kind of shoot them and let my ships get the damage in with the macro cannons in range. Since I do have lock on, this is deliberately trying to miss, or at least deter, area denial, basically. I thought I told you to move, you cursed things. You're doing a bad job of that. But the engines are critically hit. Now I gotta see if engines are damaged or not. I'm waiting for a repair, ideally. This is what you want. This will hurt, and I wonder how many Nova cannons I have left, because they're gonna detonate before the shields come back up. Ooh, I even got a good number on the flagship too, so that's a win in my book. That is a damn win in my book. Okay.
Engaging engines.
By all means, try and be sneaky there. You know what I say to your sneak tactics?
Understood.
You can shove it up your ass. Quite literally.
Acquiring new vector.
And he repaired too preemptively. Repaired way too early. That has got to suck.
Target locked in.
Now, gotta keep in mind, which ones are my Mars? My Marses are safe in the back.
We wait your command.
Now, unfortunately, I can't do more meltas there, but
We wait your command.
time to get in close. Deal with the shields and then reload. We're stronger in close. It's just a shame I had gotten our engine critical hit, mind you.
Heading acknowledged.
Yeah, I was probably gonna sprint on past. That's gonna suck. I am gonna destroy one of them, though.
The enemy has accumulated 50% of strategic points. You have accumulated 50%.
Ooh, and a mutiny on the flagship. That's actually pretty good because it conveniently took the shields down for me. As silly as that may sound. And if that keeps flying towards me, that's best case situation. Since that makes it a lot easier for me to hit it. And I don't have weapon priority, so that may have been a mistake there on my part.
Course engaged.
But melta damage is good there.
Your orders.
My opponent's not paying attention, so let's fire 2 more. Because again, that's like 200 points of damage almost. Come on, you could do better than that. I don't want to waste time on this.
Aye, Admiral.
We're gonna grab this point,
Burn retros.
and we'll see about going here.
Your command. Changing course.
That's one ship about to go down, or at least taking a lot of damage. Let's see if we can fix that.
Ship ready.
I could have repaired engines, to be fair, so that may have been a big mistake to do.
Impossible, Admiral.
Yep. The bombers are kind of doing their thing a little bit, so I'm getting my money's worth out of those
Loaded
things.
and sent.
You have seized a strategic area.
Coordinates.
And ships are coming back, but I have point advantage. We killed one of their cruisers, and
Changing course.
if I could destroy an engine on that thing, that'd be great.
Coordinates acknowledged.
Let's try and lock on, maybe.
Your orders?
It's almost gone, at least, so there is that working in my advantage. Since completely lost control of that poor thing, and 2 more bomber squadrons are in pursuit. Maybe that was a big mistake to not focus the engines. I thought it was a little more fearsome at range. Since after all, they were slaughters. They could still do noteworthy damage, I suppose, but if I defend these 3 points, I'm still in good shape. I think our priority is to repair these engines eventually.
Engaging engines.
Since I still have all 5 ships. You have lost Novacan though, but you don't even have any more charges, so that's no real loss.
Setting course.
And we'll see about going after our friend here.
Course engaged.
Go and say hi. He seems like a friendly fellow, doesn't he?
Aye, Admiral.
I like to think so, at least. Maybe I was being too sneaky trying to get 4 points, but it spread out his slaughters. That's not a terrible thing in the slightest. Unfortunately, I won't be able to keep vision on you once you're in the gas cloud, am I?
Heading acknowledged.
I could be intimidating, but not much else. Yeah,
Your
my
orders?
opponent's kind of overreacting a tiny bit. You should be
Changing
boosting
course.
after I go... Well, what am I trying to say? You should be boosting once the fighter's getting close, ideally.
Ship ready.
Since at least that way, you could shoot them down and maybe limit my the amount of damage I could do.
Underway.
Don't worry, I'll get you
Orders?
out here, Mars. You took a lot of damage, but we got
Burn
3
the
ships to
close.
keep you safe.
We serve.
And I gotta keep in mind the point deficit, too.
Acknowledged.
Ooh, and engines are down. Was that... No engines hit.
We wait your command.
But bombers are still doing their things. Now engines are permanently destroyed. Thank you.
Heading acknowledged.
I will happily take that. Oh, and I have no more bombers.
Shark assault
This
boats
cursed thing
on
was
their
actually
way.
shooting down some of them, which is a little annoying.
Initiate
And permanent
emergency
damage
repairs.
on that engine there. Actually, let's
Your
do something
orders?
sneaky here with the Mars. Remember, I still have 83 armor, so that's still
We
really
wait your
dangerous. Actually, this thing again has no engines, so I
You have
seriously want to try and
accumulated
pert it.
75% of
I just don't have
strategic
melted
points.
torpedoes to do it.
Aye, Admiral.
I take that back.
Setting
I do have
course.
melted torpedoes to do this.
We wait your command. Engaging engines.
Course engaged.
Do they hit? Do any? They both got shot down. That's a shame.
Burn retros.
Oh, one Dominator could
We
deal with that.
serve. All ahead.
And now
forward.
let's try and get ourselves situated here.
Your orders?
If only a little bit, because I still have engines and the shields are still up on this thing.
Ship ready.
Burn retros. Changing course. Enemy sighted.
Initiate emergency.
I don't want to give you
repairs.
any free kills, ideally.
Coordinates
if I can help it.
acknowledged.
And you are in terrible shape. I just have no more bombers,
Shark assault
sadly.
boats on their way.
It's the only catch.
We serve.
I'll let that mutiny if it can get away.
75% of
Nope, it's not going to get away. But I do have more torpedoes to seal deal. Pay an eye for an eye, as it were.
Engaging engines.
Aye, Admiral.
This is going to be close. I gotta be mindful.
Aye, Admiral.
I might as well wait till the shields come back up.
Damage team,
Actually,
begin repairs now.
yeah, let that disengage. Shields are about to come back up. They'll help mitigate a lot of this deficit here.
Ship ready.
I just gotta be better about controlling my fleet.
Understood. Assault crews report success.
This is the one situation I think that's warranted.
Understood.
I just would like to capture this point still.
We serve.
And I have powerful macro cannons, even if though it's a Mars, it still warrants it. Dominators are of course better at it.
Seized a strategic area.
Now I'm gonna wait till it repairs the engines, otherwise this thing flagship's all but dead.
Understood.
Fury interceptors.
Taking a lot of hits, but again, no armor piercing ammo.
Aye, Admiral.
I don't know why you're turning around on me though. I don't recall telling you to turn.
You are close to victory by strategic points.
We wait your command.
Come on, get moving.
Engaging engines.
And where's my last ship?
The
Okay,
enemy is close
you're
to
way over there,
victory by
and you have no
strategic
engines, so you're not really useful, alas.
Your orders?
Ah, dang it, shields came back up at a bad time. I could deal with that quickly, mind you, but I need to kill that thing to get a win.
Enemy sighted. Course engaged. We serve.
I do have means to protect my flagship, though,
Underway.
and seal the deal at the same time.
Setting course.
You have no engines, so just ram it to death.
Coordinates
Good way to
acknowledged.
protect it, and that ends it right there. Interesting game. It gone on for a while, I'm shocked. That was like almost 20 minutes. I did not pay attention to that. Although, not having the number of shots as with the melted torpedoes is really felt, I gotta say. Good God. I'm gonna be interested to see how the new extra special ammo for Adeptus Mechanicus Nova Cannon is gonna be, since they're getting one included in the patch, I think. Unless that was changed, since there was recently an update to the beta patch. But having only 3 shots as opposed to 6 is definitely felt, I gotta say. it wasn't terrible, but again, if I didn't have to worry about the shield so much, this would have a lot of damage potential, so I really need to be exceptionally patient, don't I? And I didn't pay attention to his level. Was it a deliberate... Oh, I should already know that, since he had the corn upgrades. That requires level 10 to get access to everything. So yeah, my opponent deliberately chose not to get the armor-piercing ammo. So, I was kind of wondering if that was, like, a deliberate choice or not. Now I completely lost my train of thought as a result of that, though. Ooh, orcs. You know this can go amazingly well or go horribly bad. For a simple reason that I do time my Novacans poorly. Since once the orcs burn their big red button, there is almost nothing they can do about it. Unless they have maybe light cruisers, and yeah, there's that bug in effect. Which I kind of hinted at a little bit when I did my stream the other day. It kind of gives away what the upgrade is, and even worse so. It probably even demonstrates where the flagship even is, if I look carefully enough. I think, anyway. I know it was before. There it is, see? This is what I'm afraid of. This is kind of the reason why I chose not to use things like the tractor can when I did my orc preview, because it gives away where the flagship is, and there's no sneaky tactics when you're trying to be sneaky. If that's any demonstration. It's really infuriating though, because the tractor can could be amazing for orcs. At least with the... Well, it's not a big deal for any artifacts, it's just the was it? Damn it, I forget their names, the blood axes. It's not really useful for blood axes since it gives away one of your key upgrades, but the layout of these objectives is really damn good though. I like it. I like it a lot. And I have the armor piercing potential. I still have the 83 armor to deal with them in close. It's just a matter of, can I do the damage with the Novacans early on? Hell, what am I trying to do? I want the Dominators kind of in back. And I'm not against having my ships partially back some away from the edge of the deployment zone, since at the end of the day I want to try and prolong how the time it takes before I get in close range, even though I'm kind of equipped for it with my Dominators. But with the Novacans, I want to try to get multiple shots in. Hell, I could reload. That's something I haven't been neglecting, is I could reload, couldn't I? To speed up my Novacans to an extent.
Ready.
But I don't have my auger probe anymore. I changed that out for a stasis bomb, which will actually be useful here. Instead, I'm going to use my fighters to try and spot.
Fury interceptors in flight.
And if you're going to haphazardly boost, although, ooh, this is a lot of... Okay,
Enemy sighted.
this has a lot of promise for me. I almost want to deal with their weapons. Almost. I just don't know what I want to focus on. There's a lot of torpedoes, too. I kind of regret launching my fighters, mind you, because it's not really needed anymore, is it? Safe to say, but flagship is the priority. Here comes fighters, too. So I have my own fighters. Ooh, maybe I didn't...
Fury
Ooh,
interceptors
did I
in
not
flight.
launch fighters? Oh, no, I did launch a single fighter squadron,
The
so...
enemy has seized
I
a
hedged my
strategic
bets a
area.
tiny bit by the accidental, or maybe he was boosting as I was launching them, so that's why I hesitated on that. But these are full fighter squadron battleships. Only 3 of them, thankfully, so I can weather that storm decently enough. But I'm not quite going to get this third objective, not quickly at least. Hell, I'm really reluctant,
Aye, Admiral.
if I were to be so honest, is moving these ships over to grab this one
You
point
have
here.
seized a strategic area.
Geez, those look more like projectiles than actual fighters, I'm not gonna lie. Because those things are coming in at cruising speed. And I am curious if the reload does work with the Novacans, because it doesn't really work with the fighters, alas, but... And guess I'm not going to get to find out if I want to reload and mitigate a lot of the damage these fighters can do.
Setting course.
So we're not going to know for the time being, unless I time it for later. That might be the exception.
Coordinates acknowledged.
I have hold fire, so I just need to not get spotted. Maybe this...
Changing course.
Yeah, this Cobra should just go flank and try and steal from behind.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
I got point defense up. I got fighters up.
Fury interceptors in
Although
flight.
they're going to be short-lived after all, considering that there's 5 fighter squadrons versus like squads of 2. But I could do decently still.
Your
I
orders?
just got to outlast it, and they don't really do that much damage. I don't think. It's just inconvenience. Now, torpedoes are coming. I just face my proud to him, and if anything, have these frigates try shoot them down. With the wide arc, maybe it's not even needed, in all seriousness.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
But this is going to be important. Now, I want to focus on the flagship because, again, the flagship has all the morale, gives all the morale issues. Don't care about the frigates so much, and holy crap, they're doing a world of damage to me.
Fury interceptors in flight.
Okay, this is convenient.
We serve.
This is... Oh, were those the torpedoes? Maybe that's where all the damage came from.
Ship ready.
Now, time to reload. Well, I still have fighters to deal with. Let's
You
not
have
kid
seized
ourselves.
a strategic area.
And I still have a stasis bomb at the ready, but that's a lot of damage potential. The boost is going to come up in time, though. Keep that in mind.
We serve.
I cannot be oblivious to this. But I know another way to help deal with that some,
Fury interceptors in flight.
if only slightly.
Your orders.
Just stand my ground and take the hits like a man. Sadly, my Novacan time is really bad there. I wonder why that is. I have almost no point defense left,
Ship ready.
but that works out well.
Starhawks loaded and sent. Impossible, Admiral. Enemy sighted. Aye, Admiral.
Alright, extra Novacan for good measure. This is a little bit brutal. Good god, the damage is kind of ridiculous too.
Setting course.
I'm holding my ground. That flagship's all but screwed, especially with 3 fires, keep in mind. It's gonna have another mutiny pretty damn soon. But I don't have any more point defense, sadly.
Heading
This is kind of where the Exorcist shines to a limited extent,
Ship ready.
since it has more fighter squadrons to make this a little more convenient.
Aye, Admiral.
But, let's see, you still have engines. So let's just go greet them.
Changing course.
Oh, you're firing, that's why. That's the important thing to note, isn't it?
Your orders.
Just kill this thing right away.
Coordinates acknowledged.
Keep the flagship alive to an extent.
Ship ready.
The enemy has
And you did a bad job
25%
turning.
of strategic points.
But you still have macro cannons. That thing's just gonna burn to death. Aw, flagship's been destroyed. That is a surprising amount of
The enemy
damage,
has
though.
seized a strategic area.
With that all said, I should have set myself to do not disturb. That's a little annoying. Getting notifications when I don't wish it.
Course engaged.
But nonetheless, I can ram these, try and break the morale some more. Since they don't have much point-blank range potential, and I still have Novacans too. So why not use that to my advantage? No deck, really? I might as well just deal with the morale problem now, in that case.
Understood.
So it's the last thing I need is to have mutiny issues at an inconvenient time.
Coordinates acknowledged.
And we only have frigates to deal with afterwards. And I
Aye,
have
Admiral.
armor-piercing rounds and I have more Novacans to shoot. Although I think the shields are going to be up in time here.
Shark assault boats on their way.
Flagship's gone, I only have a single Mars, let's keep that in mind too.
Underway. Maximum
More fires,
You have
please.
seized
That's
a
going to be
strategic
useful.
area.
If for some reason encouraging speech is not available, this baffles me some.
We wait
Is
your
it because the
command.
mutant morale is so low? I'm not sure why. I would love to know why I can't rally my ship. It would make my life a lot easier there. And I know it can't mutiny because... Oh, maybe that's why, because the crew is so low?
Changing course.
I'm seriously curious why he wouldn't let me do that there.
Enemy sighted.
Nonetheless, this is a Mars, it can ram the rear,
Engines.
and we'll get this Cobra to do some grabbing there. If I can deal with these battleships, maybe I'm okay. That's a goddamn lot of health to get through, though. Without a doubt.
Ship ready.
Helps if I ram them properly, though.
Heading Acknowledged.
Oh, and I didn't do call to arms at all either.
Aye, Admiral.
I'm a little bit shocked that the fighters did so much damage,
We serve.
since there's some weird cases where fighters don't do damage, and I don't know why sometimes does and sometimes doesn't. At least maybe it's based on the faction. Only thing I could think of there.
The enemy has accumulated 50% of strategic
Actually, I could just
points.
ram these savages to an extent,
On
but
the way.
they're going to do a lot of damage, especially with all these mutinies. God damn it. I lost mainly because of the mutiny there. And hell, we saw... I don't know exactly what limits that, but I guess that's game. Could have done that a little bit faster.
Ship is gone, sir.
Maybe. I don't know. Taking down the flagship faster definitely would have been nice, but good god, the amount of damage on the one ship. Even with 2 Marses, that... I need more fighters, simply put. And probably should have took them a little more seriously trying to fly away, maybe, but that doesn't help with the point defense issue either. It's kind of where I would have liked the Exorcist to an extent. Since it's like I said, sometimes when I have fighters there harassing frigates or other things, it doesn't seem to do any damage at all. With, I guess it may be based on the faction. I have no idea, because I'm pretty certain that wasn't all from torpedoes that did all that damage. Good god. Even with my point defense gone. Alright, let's try one more against Necrons. Sadly, I am not using the Nova cans, as amazing as that would potentially be for this matchup. I'm going back with the torpedoes in this case, and sadly, because they're Necrons, I'm not going to be able to benefit off my melta torpedoes. But let's end off with our Imperial Navy the proper way. As interesting as the Nova cans are, I like the torpedoes a little bit more, and never mind, like I also hinted at, having only 3 shots can be a bit limiting. But I need to learn more about how those fighters work. The only reason I didn't take them as seriously because I was thought maybe they didn't do any damage there. I just don't know what to believe anymore. Sometimes they do damage, sometimes they don't, it seems like. So I'm going to have to experiment faction by faction to see what actually causes the damage with the fighters. But nonetheless, that was not going well there. It took way too long to get through the health pool of that dang battleship. And maybe if I kept the flagship alive, that would have been a little more convenient. A lot of things I understand in that regard, since... hell, I feel like I lost more to the mutiny, the morale, as opposed to anything else. I wasn't able to do the encouraging speech when I had time to do it, and sure, I probably should have used it immediately once the flagship died in all seriousness to kind of help alleviate some of that. Since I knew the morale, they took a lot of murder. Blah, what the hell was that I trying to say there? I don't know. But they took a whole lot of morale damage, so that should have tried to alleviate that quite a bit. Hell, I wonder if the new Commissar morale encouraging speech actually can work when they're mutinying, since that is kind of when you use your Commissar in general anyway. So I'm excited to see how that functions with the new patch coming up potentially next week. There's a lot of new exciting things, at least I'm excited for it because it's more flavorful towards each of the factions. Like I said, the Commissar killing part of the crew to get things back in line is kind of appropriate to the Imperial Navy. Or at least the the majority of the Imperial in general. And it looks like we're dealing with Shrouds. We're going to be dealing with a very stealth-oriented type of fleet, which I'm okay with. I played against Vanguard Space Marines, I have a good sense on how this is going to play out. What I need to do is make sure my frigates stay alive and functional. And ideally, position myself in a way I grab these points. Do I seriously? Well, I'm not seeing a micro-warp jump just yet, so I don't...
Ship ready.
or using their inertialist drive, so I don't think I have to worry too much. What I should be paying attention to is how quickly is this capping. That would be a bit of a tell to a limited extent on how many ships are actually trying to cap that point. But the main idea is to keep my ships from ideally getting sniped, the frigates anyway. And this Falcon, if it stays in the middle, everything would be really good in that regard.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Dauntless, I think you're going to be on your own for a bit. Falcon's going to be with the rest of this group. You're going back to Group 4 just for control's sake. We'll see how this goes. And again, I need to pay attention to how many are actually capping. I think that's 2 capping right there, I think.
We serve.
Since it takes about 50 seconds to capture a point normally with a single ship, that is going at a bit of a decent pace. And these are about to grab
Course
And there's been
engaged.
no inertialist drive just yet, so we know
Your orders?
when to be ready for that. And I think I kind of
We
want
wait
to stay
your
here
command.
anyway. Ideally, I want to stay
Understood.
here because this is as central as I'm gonna get for the time being.
Your orders?
Okay, frigates.
The enemy has seized a strategic area. The enemy has seized
So we've
a
seen everything
strategic
we need
area.
to see, just about.
Changing course.
And unless there's frigates
You have
over here,
seized a
I could just...
strategic area.
Unless there's light cruisers, my Dauntless
We
should
wait
be
your
kind of
command.
okay. Kind of okay. Let's not get too careless.
Setting course.
This could go badly still.
Underway.
And
Engaging engines.
do I move a little bit more? Because I am really close to the objective and I got good range. I just gotta make sure when I see the cruisers I prioritize the proper
Coordinates
components.
acknowledged.
That would be the main thing.
Aye, Admiral.
And I have a scanner
Heading
pulse, so
acknowledged.
let's keep that in mind too.
Ship ready.
Now let's see if anything tries to shoot at me. The one downside, or one plus, unless they're like Kartosha or whatever the two that have...
Retros.
Well, I don't know what light cruisers actually would be, but they're only broadside light cruisers aside for a shroud, and only a single lance, which does
We
ignore
serve.
shields.
Fury interceptors.
And we'll
in
have
flight.
fighters that kind of spot a little bit here to some
We
regard
wait your
too.
command.
I just gotta sit pretty.
Engaging
We
engines.
kind of already know what we're up against. I just need to be smart with how I use these frigates, which means they need to stay alive. Simply put.
All guns fire at will.
All right.
Heading acknowledged.
Now let me figure out where those shots came from, just so I can utilize my prow. Okay.
Engaging engines.
And then I'll be silent run in a moment, so you're gonna have to reveal me.
Underway.
Now let's make a panic.
Orders. We serve.
Make a panic a tiny bit
Setting
there.
course.
Aye, Admiral.
Course engaged.
What happened to the damage there?
Your orders.
It probably was a ram, if I were to be so honest. That would have been a huge mistake.
We wait your command.
Underway.
Just gotta play patient.
Ship ready. Changing course.
I'll worry about revealing them in a moment. Once I have the point, the
Aye, Admiral.
objective's basically gonna reveal them for me.
Coordinates acknowledged.
So I'm not in the slight worried, I just gotta make
We
sure I'm
wait your
able to
command.
punish any
You
kind of
have
aggressive
seized a
plays on the
strategic
objectives.
Underway.
And you can help defend my backside
Course
some.
engaged. We serve. Engaging engines. Ship ready. Understood.
Alright. The next move's his.
Your orders? Aye, Admiral.
Or theirs, anyway. I gotta stop with assuming genders.
Ship ready. Changing course.
Alright, come on, jump away. You know you kind of
Enemy
want to.
sighted.
Setting course.
Now,
Wait your command.
the Dauntless, this role is very simple.
We serve.
We'll see
Fury
if these
interceptors
fighters
in
do
flight.
anything or not.
Heading acknowledged.
We wait your command.
And now what I do here is pretty straightforward.
We wait your command.
Setting course.
Just scare the
The
living
enemy
hell
is
out of them.
seizing one of your strategic
Ideally.
areas.
Aye, Admiral.
Now,
Enemy is seizing one of your strategic areas.
can we kill some of these things? They got hull regeneration, so maybe not.
Coordinates acknowledged.
Your orders?
That was not what I want, but...
Course engaged.
The
Ooh, I
enemy
actually
has
got a ram. That I
accumulated
was not expecting the
25%
slightest.
strategic points.
That was not a result I was expecting there.
Starhawks loaded.
Gonna
and
jump
set.
away at some point soon, I imagine, but...
Changing course.
Let's see if the bombers could do the damage necessary. Start killing these off.
Understood.
Make my life a little bit better. Well, we see what the strategy is here.
Ready.
Well, that makes my life a lot easier.
Enemy sighted.
You have accumulated 25%.
And the fighters
of
are still
strategic
there,
points.
Oh yeah, and you're busy regenerating the hull, so... While my bombers may not... Well, the bombers are still going to reach it, because it used its inertialess drive after all. This is just a weird turn of events.
You have seized a strategic area.
Now, fighters... Point defense are gone on that thing. Eventually, those are going to reach the Jackal. Will it kill it? Well, the Lances are actually contributing, surprisingly enough. I was not anticipating that at all in the slightest, but... So far, I want to see this Jackal die, simply put. It may have the health now, unfortunately, to survive. Come on, don't be shy. You're bombers, you can do bombing damage, right? It panics, so... How come it... I still have to understand a lot, since it seems like, I said, being able to... Can't execute a mutiny or stop a mutiny seems so sporadic as well, good god.
Aye, Admiral.
But your point defense are gone, you have 1 point defense.
Fury interceptors in flight.
And we have 3 points here.
We wait your command.
And these are just 3 battle cruisers I'm willing to bet. So let's give them a proper welcome.
Your orders? Underway.
Now let's get all the ships together. Keep in mind that they're probably going to try and grab points.
Understood.
Because why the hell not?
Aye, Admiral. Heading
Yeah, we'll get
acknowledged.
everything grouped up and ready. Since I'm pretty certain these are battle cruisers. I just gotta make it difficult for them to grab these points. Ah, that's a shame. The fighters did not last long enough.
Ship ready. Setting course.
So they are battle cruisers.
Aye, Admiral.
Nobody's surprised.
Changing course.
I did lose a frigate, alas, so that's a shame.
We serve. Changing course.
Alright.
Your orders?
These torpedoes have potential to do well.
Ship ready.
They have potential, I just don't have the focus firing I want, ideally.
We wait your command.
Course engaged.
Alright, crews repopulating.
Serve.
I think they fell for that bait there. Now get this thing out. Get the hell out, rather.
Maximum burn.
And then you can go play with our friends there with the Dauntless.
Firing new vector. Reporting successful boarding.
That may have hurt some, but probably not as much as it could have,
We wait your
thankfully. And the engines are permanently gone there, so unless you have the skill, you're pretty much screwed. And I have spurs on this thing, so let's try and murder this thing quickly. I wonder if Disruption Bomb cancels out their AoE heal effect there. That'd actually be pretty useful to know if I were to be serious.
Understood.
Your orders.
Oh,
Setting course.
just ram them, kill them. You have armor-piercing rounds, so make use of it.
Coordinates acknowledged.
There. This is very promising. A really odd type of strategy, needless to say, but with the Star Pulse generator kind of inactive right now, guess what I could take full advantage of?
Understood.
You need to be a little bit smarter with your torpedoes, or at least denying torpedoes. I like the strategy, I like the idea about it. All this time I thought I was dealing with shrouds. It was not the case.
Wait your command.
Although I'm doing a bad job using these Cobras, but the Dauntless is doing work,
Enemy sighted.
since my adversaries kind of neglected to control them.
The enemy has
Oh.
seized a strategic
They
area.
finally killed off the crew, so can I lightning strike at all? No, not yet. Okay, take that back, I can.
Aye,
It's
Admiral.
pretty glimping, but it's in good shape. And since I'm killing his ships, their ships, and I'm not losing mine,
Underway.
I'm easily making up for them stealing at one
The
point
enemy
at
has
least, so I'm
accumulated
fine there.
50% of strategic points.
Yeah, probably.
Patrols.
With the battle cruisers, I assume. How rude of me. I didn't say good luck, have fun either. I just noticed. I definitely liked that match. Hard to say if it was a good idea by my opponent or not, but I liked it. Since if there is no gas cloud, then you could just fight normally with the three battle cruisers. I don't know what you mean by getting too close though. Since your strategy was all about getting close, mind you, I would perfectly agree if due to the fact that I have armor-piercing ammo, but at the same time you couldn't use your Scarab Swarm. So I'm curious if they meant the frigates, maybe? I'm not sure. Sadly, that one orc loss cost me my legendary rank. But oh well. It's no big deal, since I'm gonna get ready to possibly switch on over to Chaos and once I do my one final video maybe.